Chapter 1. The Unseen Pattern. The smell of her mother's jollof rice, a rich, spicy aroma that usually meant home, safety, and love, today tasted like ash in Amara Jones's mouth. She pushed a grain of rice around her plate, the familiar, vibrant flavors turning to dust on her tongue. The television in the living room was on, the news a low, murmuring backdrop to the strained dinner. Authorities continue to search for Elijah Jones, 20, who was last seen near his South Side home 3 nights ago. Family and friends describe him as a bright student with no history of running away. Anyone with information? Amara's fork clattered against her plate. Her mother, Brenda, immediately reached for the remote and muted the broadcast, plunging the room into a sudden, heavy silence. Raymond, turn that off. Let's have a happy dinner. Amara leaves tomorrow. Her voice was too bright, too forced. Her father, a large, gentle man with hands worn from years of fixing what others threw away, sighed but didn't argue. She's right, Omomi. You need to eat. Big day tomorrow. Amara couldn't look at them. She couldn't look at the empty chair where Elijah had sat just a week ago, laughing, stealing food from her plate. His absence was a physical weight in the room, a ghost they were all desperately trying to ignore. Elijah wasn't a runaway. She knew it in her bones. The police had given the family the same tired, sympathetic spiel they always did. The neighborhood had a way of making missing black teens become statistics, their stories buried in the inside pages of newspapers. This was why she'd taken the gap year, not to find herself, but to document the stories everyone else seemed eager to forget. Her blog, The Unseen Pattern, was an encrypted digital tomb for the lost. And now, Elijah was part of it. Her camera, a vintage Nikon F3 that had belonged to her grandmother, sat on the empty chair beside her. Its weight was a comfort, a tool of truth in a world that preferred comfortable lies. She'd used it to capture the vibrant, defiant life of the favelas in Rio, the bustling markets of Accra, and the lonely, fading missing person posters plastered on walls in both cities. Posters the authorities called runaways, gang related, not worth the resources. Posters that featured faces that looked like her own, like Elijah's. Later, on the porch under a blanket of stars that felt suddenly alien, she hugged her family goodbye. Her father's embrace was long and tight. Keep your head on a swivel, superstar, he murmured into her hair, his voice thick with an emotion he wouldn't name. Big cities, just come home safe to us. The flight to DC, the cab ride to Howard, it was all a blur of noise and motion. But as she stepped onto the historic campus, a sense of rightness settled over her. Here, she was surrounded by brilliance that looked like her. Here, maybe she wouldn't feel so alone in her observations. The grand, red brick buildings stood as testaments to resilience and excellence. For the first time since Elijah's disappearance, a spark of her old self emerged. Her dorm room was a standard issue box, but it was hers. She unpacked slowly, placing her grandmother's camera on the desk with reverence. As night fell, the excitement that had eluded her at dinner finally began to spark. This was a new beginning, a chance to be normal. The feeling lasted until she decided to take a walk, to breathe in the potential of her new life. The campus was beautiful at night, bathed in the soft orange glow of antique style street lamps. But the beauty felt fragile. The shadows between the pools of light were deep and impenetrable. She walked, her sneakers silent on the cobblestone paths, her mind finally beginning to quiet. Then she saw it. Parked under a large oak tree, just beyond the circle of light, was a sedan. It was sleek, black, and impossibly glossy, like a shard of the night itself. Its windows were mirrored, reflecting the distorted image of the dormitory back at her. Amara froze. Her breath hitched in her throat. Number. It can't be. Her heart began a frantic drumbeat against her ribs. She'd seen this car, or its identical twin. She had a photo of it saved on her encrypted drive, taken from her hostel window in Rio de Janeiro, a ghostly presence on a street where a local boy had vanished the night before. Coincidence? It had to be a coincidence. A common car model. But her instincts, honed over a year of watching and documenting, screamed otherwise. This was no coincidence. This was a predator that had followed its prey home. A cold dread, sharper than any she'd felt in a foreign country, washed over her. She was not safe here. She had never been safe. Her photographer's instincts took over. Evidence. She needed evidence. Her hands trembling slightly, she unzipped her backpack and pulled out her Nikon. The solid, familiar weight of it steadied her. She raised it to her eye, the world narrowing to a circle of glass and light. She focused on the license plate, her finger hovering over the shutter button. Click, and it would be done. Proof. She took a final, steadying breath and pressed the button. As the button depressed, completing the electrical circuit that would capture the image, the car's headlights didn't just turn on. They flashed. A single, silent, strobe like blast of pure white light erupted from the vehicle. It was a physical force, a solid wall of photons that hit her full in the face. It was the light from her doorway, but 1,000 times more intense. The world vanished in a searing white void. Amara cried out, stumbling backward, the camera falling from her nerveless fingers to dangle against her chest. She clawed at her eyes, but the image was burned onto her retinas, the stark, terrifying outline of the sedan behind a curtain of blinding white. She was blind, and she was utterly, completely alone.
Follow for the next chapter.